everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Just One More Stitch Knitting Podcast. My name is Tiffany. I am the knitter, maker, crocheter, doer of all the things behind this podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to do a knitting catch-up. I had listed the things that I was going to knit for this fall/winter, and that was in late September. Yeah, I think it was late September. And then I knit through late September, all of October, and I thought that I would do an update video on where we are with all of the things. I guess let's talk about what I'm wearing. So this is the Campside Cardigan, and this was one of the things that was on my wish list that I wanted to knit. This pattern is by Alicia Plummer, and it was a pattern that was published in July of 2015. It is a DK weight pattern, and you use size 6/9 and size 8 knitting needles. And it is a negative ease cardigan. So some things about this one. I didn't knit it with DK. I used Yarn ID, and I don't know if I have any extra left in here. Nope. I used Yarn B's Yarn ID in a worsted weight, and the color was called oats, oatmeal, oat something. I'll leave it right down here what it was called. And the reason that I chose a worsted weight yarn was because this was a negative ease pattern, and I knew that I definitely didn't want a lot of negative ease. And so my hope was that if I went up a size in yarn, that it would decrease the negative ease, and it did. That was cool. Another thing that I didn't do to pattern was I didn't use the recommended needles. You are supposed to use a size 6, a size 8, and a size 9 knitting needle. And when I went through my great de-stash purge of all of the things, one of the things that I got rid of was my knitting needles that were bigger than a size 8, because in my head I'm like, I never knit with them, so it didn't make sense for me to have like 5 or 6 pairs, but I didn't keep any pairs. So what I ended up using was the size 6 needles for the ribbing, and I ended up using the size 8 needles for the entire cardigan. So it's supposed to be that as you are knitting these drops, you go up a needle size so that as you're going, the holes get bigger, and it's supposed to represent dappled sunlight. But here's the back. I didn't use the size 9 needle since I don't have mine, but I think it actually worked out okay. I just knit it, I think, about an inch longer than the pattern recommended to kind of offset the length that I would have had if I'd have had the bigger holes. And then because this was an acrylic yarn, I literally threw it in the washer and then threw it in the dryer and hoped for the best. This was a really quick knit. Where's my book? I think my book is upside down. I started this on September 24th in the evening. My notes say that it was a super easy start. I knit the size 4. After 2 days, I had done 10 rows of increases, and I had been through 1 skein of yarn. September 28th, I finished the increases and divided for the sleeves and started skein number 2. On September 30th, I started chart 3 of 4 and realized that I got rid of all of my larger needles. On October 21st, I bound off the final sleeve, woven the ends, and popped it in the washer. Notes and mods: only used size 6 and size 8 needles, only decreased the sleeves 6 times versus 11 times. I knit another 20 rows for the ribbing on size 6 needles. So I did a total of 25 rows of ribbing for my sleeves because I wanted them to be longer, and I figured that with this being a worsted weight yarn, as it goes in the washer and dryer, you know how worsted weight yarn sometimes can get kind of floppy. So I figured that like this, it would eventually get to the point that my sleeves will be like this, and then I can fold it down, and I thought that that would be really nice. This pattern was a really great get back into garment knitting pattern. Super easy. You knit, you divide for the sleeves, and then you come back and you pick up for the side ribbing, which was super easy. I think you'd pick up every third stitch you pick up in the pattern. The only thing that I would do differently is I knit to pattern, and I forgot that when you do your decreases, it will leave the decrease lines. And this was one of the reasons that I didn't decrease the full amount. That and the sleeves would have been really fitted if I had decreased the full amount. And so I stopped at 6 instead of going all the way to 11. I definitely can recommend the pattern. If you don't enjoy knitting with a worsted weight yarn, you could get kind of sick of it. I was supposed to start my Lana vest after this, and I'm using Yarn ID to make that as well. And I didn't start the Lana vest for 2 reasons. One, because you have to start with a size 9 needle. But since I always have to go down a needle size, I'm wondering if I can actually do a size 8 and be good. My hope is to swatch that this week to find out. And I know I'm swatching. I never swatch. Who am I? But I am hoping that I can come up with a different yarn choice, because the Yarn ID was okay for this cardigan and just, you know, wearing it home and what have you. But I feel like the vest deserves a better quality yarn, given all of the work that it's going to take to do all of those cables. So I'm going to swatch with the Yarn ID, but I'm thinking that I might maybe try something from Malabrigo in their worsted weight. I think that that might maybe be better. So I don't know. I'll let you know in the next video. So anyway, that's what I'm wearing. What was the next thing? So when I recorded my video in September of all of the things that I was going to make, I was actually working on a Simple Affair. And this is a pattern by Sandra Yarn Co. It was released in October 2024, and it is a free pattern. And I have notes everywhere. I completed it on September 8th. I used the Malabrigo Meshita, and it is in the colorway Legend, and the sun is shining through the window, so it's actually coming out a bit brighter than it really is. It's a bit darker than what you guys are seeing. And for the mohair, I used Crooked Kitchen's Kid Silk Mohair, 72% Kid Silk Mohair, 28% Mulberry Silk, and it's in the colorway Mischievous Grin. And there's her label. I don't know if she still dyes or not, because I've had this in my stash for a really long time, but the two together produced this fabric, and I absolutely love this. It's super soft, it's super squishy, like it's slightly itchy, but not like, oh God, get this off me itchy, if that makes sense. But it's so soft, like huggable soft. Anyway, I love it. This was a lot of fun to make. It was super simple, really easy. It has this really cool, where are you? The edging is this really cool ribbing. And for my notes, I said, mods, I did not do the last 4 rows of the ribbing repeat, and I used a 3-stitch I-cord bind off. And then I said, new for me, learned how to turn a corner or make a point with I-cord. So that was something that I had always wondered, like, how does that happen? How is it done? And the sun is really shining in through the window, so sorry if like everything got super bright on you. Anyway, I had never actually made a point with an I-cord before, and I'd always been curious about how it worked, so that was like my new skill. to learn with this project, and I absolutely love it, and I'm so excited to be able to wear it. I can't wait. I am hoping to go to New York to see the tree when it gets put up, and I'm thinking that this is just gonna be, just look at that. So fluffy. I'm so loving it. Absolutely, just, yeah, I'm so loving this. So I definitely recommend the pattern. 1 skein of fingering weight, 1 skein of mohair. I had a whole skein, and this is what I have left. And I used this size 4.5 knitting needle was the other thing. I haven't weighed this, so I don't know how much is left. I will try to remember to put down here how much I have left, so you guys will have an idea of how much fingering weight yarn you need to make this one. But I definitely highly recommend this pattern. Okay, what was the next thing that I finished? I was working on a hat when I started my September knitting goals video, and this is what I have left. This was a mystery yarn. I don't know what it was, but it's a fingering weight. I really don't know who this one was. It's got blacks, it's got coppers, it's got browns. Was a really nice yarn to knit with, and I held it double. And I had been working on the PetiteKnit Hipster Hat, and I had already made, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these. I found another one that I had not showed you guys, but this was the last one that I'm going to make. Yeah, this is the last one. It was my 4th or 5th one, and by this point I was tired of the pattern, but I really enjoyed it, but by the end I was like, oh, so glad this is done. It's a really well written pattern. I highly recommend it. It's really cool how, depending on the yarn you use, you'll get different, I don't know, like different aesthetics, I guess is the right word. The pattern calls for DK weight yarn, so I actually held 2 strands, held double. That's why this is all that held together, so held double. That's why this is all I have left. And then I have a basket of pom-poms, and so I just put it in there, tied it, split the loop, and then just tied it in a super knot. I think if I ever have to wash this one, I'll send it to be dry cleaned. So this was my last PetiteKnit Hipster hat, and I think the last hat that you guys saw that I was working on was the hoarfrost hat, and I haven't made any progress on that. I think I'm still on row 6 of 41 of the repeat, and I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not I'm gonna finish it. I know I was excited because I was like, okay, this is gonna be a new experience for me, textured hat with an actual design in it, but I kind of got sidetracked, and now I don't know if I definitely want to hop back to it. But I did find one other hipster hat that I had finished, and this was, I think I still have a little of this yarn left. Maybe not. Is it this one? Yep, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. This was the yarn that I used. I had 2 balls of this. This was another mystery yarn. If you have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know what this means. This is a mom yarn. And then I just held it with a regular strand of just plain white mohair, hence the floof. And I just think it's so cute. It's kind of like a whole jelly bean situation, and the decreases came out really nice on this one. I'm super excited to wear this one. It's cute, but I still have a whole other ball, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Maybe fingerless mitts. I know PetiteKnit has a pattern for hat and not fingerless mitts, but regular mittens. She has a pattern for a set, and I think maybe I might try that and make the mittens to go with this. I don't know. We'll see. If you're new to the channel, you guys probably haven't seen the yarn cubby. So for newer members or newer viewers of the channel, you guys are probably used to seeing me sitting in the other room on the sofa. But for people that have followed the channel for a while, you know that I used to keep all of my yarn up like this, where I could see it and always have access to all the different colors and choices. But when I had my health issues last year and I couldn't knit, I put all of my yarn away. And I just recently, last weekend, brought all of my yarn back out of the bins and put it all back out. And it's bringing me so much joy to just be able to walk by and just squeeze the squishiness. I'm totally loving it. So anyway, I digress. This is part of the yarn stash if you've never seen it before. So what was the next thing that I was working on? The next thing that I was working on was I was knitting the DK weight socks out of Summer Lee's sock knitting book, the sock project. It's up there behind the camera. This is Rowan hemp tweed in the colorway plum. And these are going to be for my daughter, Ninive. She likes to wear super thick socks with her Converse, especially in the winter time. And one other time, a certain week of the month, she likes to wear socks that squeeze her feet. So thick socks inside Converse are like her shtick. And this was a super easy pattern. It is just standard heel flap and gusset with a textured heel. And I had 7 balls of this left. One sock used a little over a half of a ball, so I still have like 5 or 6 skeins left, but I think I'm going to put them in a Purl and Garter, which is my Etsy shop where I de-stash my yarn that I don't want anymore. I think I'm going to put the other balls in there. This was really fun to knit, but I don't know that I would knit it for much of anything else aside from the socks. It is a very rustic yarn when you're knitting with it. Like it has, I think I found like bits of straw. In fact, there's a piece right there. Bits of straw in it and a couple of prickly bits that like I had to pull out. But I will say, there's another prickly bit. When I soaked these and then hung them up on the sock blockers, they got really, really soft. So if you have any Rowan hemp tweed, and I did the rolled cuff. I didn't do like standard ripping or anything because she just slouches them down anyway. So if you have any Rowan hemp tweed in your stash, I highly recommend it for socks. It was a really quick knit. It was the first time that I had knit a pair of socks in about a year. So they kind of sat for a while. I'm trying to look to see if I have any other notes. The first sock I finished on September 20th. I had cast it on September 6th. I had gusset nerves and I left it to sit for a week or so. I did the Finchley bind off instead of the Kitchener stitch. And the second sock was finished and blocked on October 14th. And I cast on 48 stitches and used a size 3.5 needle. So they were a fun knit. They're good. They're a great gift knit idea because they did the second sock knit up really quickly once I got over the concern or the nerves about doing a heel flapping gusset because it had been so long. But once I got it, I was good. And this is what my page looks like for my notes. So I decided, I don't think I shared this with you, that I was going to do a knitting field guide for the fall/winter and keep track of all of my knitting projects. And then at the end of the fall/winter, I would have this cute little field guide of all of the things that I had made, when I made them, what I used, and any funky notes. So I can actually show you an example. I saw a comment recently on someone else's YouTube video that kind of inquired about whether or not when people do pattern roundups, do they actually make any of the things that are in the pattern roundups? And I do. Sometimes I'll even test them out. Like when I did my worsted weight pattern roundup, I tested out a cozy pattern for cups, and I didn't like the way that the pattern was written, so I didn't include it in my roundup. So sometimes I even test them out. But in this instance, I had made the Grabo faux turtleneck cowl, and I'll include a pop-up right here for you for what it looks like. And I thought that this would be a really awesome one to knit. I am knitting it again. I don't have it here with me. Actually, I'm knitting it two others. I don't like the way the pattern was written, because the pattern tells you to just do the increases every single row. And I think that there's a flaw in the pattern. I think they meant increase every other row. I'll show you what I mean. First, I'll show you the yarn that I used. I used, the thing's not in here. This is a Sin City Knits Roll the Dice worsted weight yarn, and this is what's left of it. I knit this one from the outside in because it was a gradient, and this is why. How cool is this? Right? So I'm knitting this again, and I don't know if I don't have it here with me, but I can tell you what the mods are. So this is what happens if you write it to the pattern. You'll get your neck, and you can roll it up, and you see how in the picture how it sits all lovely on the shoulders? Well, if you follow the pattern, this is what you get. So the increases are nice. It's really cool. I saved this, and I saved what's left of the yarn because I'm going to frog back to where the increases start, and I'm going to re-knit this and increase every other row. So I'll do an increase round, then a knit round, then an increase round, and a knit round, and I think that's going to give me the length that we see in the picture. So if you knit this one, don't follow the pattern because you'll end up with this, and you'll be like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? I'm going to try to increase every other row and see how that works, but I wanted to show you a real example of, yeah, I do actually knit some of the things from the pattern roundup, and sometimes they just don't, yeah. This one's going to have some work done on it. So I will say this was a crazy fast knit. Like, I knit this in a day. I started it on September 20th at 4 p.m. and I finished it at 10:20 p.m. So a super fast knit. So I think if you add the increase rows, it could be one that you could probably finish in, I'd say 8 to 10 hours, depending on how fast you are of a knitter. So this might be a good gift knit idea. Yeah, so there was that caveat. I added 5 rows of increases, could have gone for 10. We'll need to see how this fares tomorrow when I wet block it. September 21st, I said steam blocked it, love it. Notes, no fisherman's wool if I'm steam blocking. So I used this because I originally wanted to do this in fisherman's wool for Jay when I did my fall knitting goals. I was gonna, no fisherman's wool if we have to steam block to get it where we want it to be. I cast on 80 stitches, and I said to do a minimum of 30 increase rolls. Overall thoughts, great beginner pattern, quick knit, good for gifting, but we need to do some mods in order to get it right. I did cast down a second one for Jay with some modifications on September 22nd, but I've not gotten very far. And this is what the field guide looks like with the notes. I taped the yarn label to it, and then I included the date that I started, any notes, and I actually had a book that one of my daughters had given me that was all about foliage and animals and mushrooms and stuff, and it had these really cool stickers in it. So I just one day sat and just put stickers in random places in a notebook and decided that I was going to call it my knitting field guide. So eventually everything that's in here will go in Ravelry as I figure out the projects, but I've really enjoyed taking the time and doing it the analog way, sitting down and writing. I'm experimenting with doing more stuff analog versus digital. So yeah, so that's the Garbo faux turtleneck cowl. Do I recommend the pattern? Yes, just don't knit it as it's written. Add some knit rows in between your increase rows. I will show you guys in the next video what it looks like once I frog back and actually finish knitting it with the rest of the yarn, and we'll see how it comes out. The one that I'm doing for Jay, I am using Knit Picks Provincial Tweed worsted weight, and here's the label. And I'll include a picture right here of what the yarn looks like so you can see. I don't think I have another ball of it, another skein of it here. I don't see one. No, I don't think I have a skein of it here. Oh, yes I do. This is what the Knit Picks Provincial Tweed looks like. I love this. It's got these big, huge slubs on it of the purple and the orangey yellow. So yeah, and it's super soft and squishy. It's got a slight sheen to it. So I don't know if at the end it's gonna be ideal for him, but we'll see. But yeah, I have 2 skeins of this and we'll see where we get. Okay, so what's the next thing? Okay. Then Socktober happened. And when Socktober happened, I decided that I wanted to knit some socks. And I was already working on Nive's DK weight socks. And I was already working on, I think there's a picture, the Cozy Autumn socks. And this was a free pattern that was in my fingering weights bundle, and I was super excited to knit these, and I haven't really made much progress on them, to be honest with you. I am working on the lace, and you have to do the leg repeat. I can't remember how many times. I have completed 2 of the lace repeats though, and I've recently had a realization about sock legs. So that's what the chart looks like. Super simple. Not complicated. I put stitch markers in between each repeat so that I knew that if I ended up with more than, I think it's 12 stitches. Is that 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, if I ended up with more than 12 stitches, then I'd seriously cocked something up and I needed to go back and revisit it. Let me see if I can get her. There's my stitch marker. She's a little kitty. Focus. There we go. She's wrapped up in little hearts. And the yarn that I am using for this, I believe, is Hedgehog Fibers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Hedgehog Fibers in the colorway Cereal. Yeah, I cast them on October 2nd. Hedgehog Fibers socks colorway Cereal. On one of the rare instances that my ball winder decided that wanted to cooperate and make a cake. Mine is a rebel, and like maybe every 50th cake I actually get right. I cast on 72 stitches. I wear a women's size 7. I knew right away that 60 stitches wasn't going to cut it. I normally do 60 stitches for a sock, but for whatever reason, this just looked like it was going to be crazy tight. And I know that with lace, it fits like smaller on the needle, but you could just tell that even with the cast on for the ribbing, that 60 stitches wasn't going to cut it. And right, there's the label, and the colorway is called Cereal. It's right there. And it's cute. And this was one that I had in stash, and I actually have skinny singles as well, in case for whatever reason I want to make something else. And I think I do. I think I am going to make either a Sophie with what's left, or I'm going to make a Stay Toasty scarf. But that's for another video, because that's a whole situation that I've got going on right now. So anyway, Socktober, October 2nd, I cast on these. That's what I was working on. I haven't really worked on them a lot because Summerlee Designs did a YouTube video at the start of Socktober for, I don't think I wrote down the day that I actually started. Nope, I didn't. For these. How cute are they, right? And they are called the Puffy Check socks. And when I saw hers on the video, I was like, I know exactly what yarn I want to use to make those. So the yarn is Malabrigo's sock in the colorway Gobber. There's one side of the label, and there's the other. The cool thing about these yarns, it's colorway number 351, Gobber. These are no dye lot yarns. So if you ever buy the Malabrigo sock, they are no dye lots. So no dye lot. So in theory, they should all always be the same. So I sat down and I knit the first one. And here it is. And here's the other side. It's got a regular heel flap and gusset, nothing special, regular rounded toe. And I am on the second one. I'm on the foot. I worked on the foot during Halloween when we had trick-or-treaters coming, but this is what it looks like on the needles before it's been blocked. It's definitely poofy, and it's really an intuitive, very meditative pattern. I really have been enjoying knitting these. And this is what the yarn looks like. How awesome is this for the fall? It's got rust and copper and tan, and it's got some bits of grayish in it. And for the toe, I am just using, the heel and the toe, I'm just using this little bit of chocolate. So these two together. And I'm really, really enjoying this pattern. I didn't get second sock syndrome, which was nice. I very rarely do on fingering weight socks, but I'm ready for this to be done and for me to start on another pair of socks. So that's that. And then what was next? My next cast on was this. This was a free worsted weight pattern that I listed in my free worsted weight bundle to step up your skills. And I'll include a pop-up for it here if you want to check that video out. And I've made one of the socks, and I'll show you what I used for the yarn. I use Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight in the colorway Camel Heather, and Bergère de France du Céline, and the colorway is called Melissa. And my, the size 4.5 millimeter knitting needle. I use the 9-inch circulars on all my socks. Sorry for the wobble. I hit you with the yarn. So this is the yarn that I used to make the socks. And I've made the first one. I have not cast on the second one. I have second sock syndrome. I'm not going to lie. Here's the sock. It's really nice. And this is going to be another one that it might go to an eBay. I'm not sure yet. Jay said he really likes these, but obviously this one's not fitting his ginormous foot. It's a super simple pattern, honestly. It's a free pattern, so I can tell you. You use a US 3.5 millimeter needle, and you've got the coffee bean pattern, which is literally just a 2-row repeat. You don't cast on a lot of stitches. I made the third size, so I cast on 45 stitches. And it's literally purl 2, slip 1, repeat to end for the first row, and then knit all the way around for the next row. And that's literally it. Purl 2, slip, purl 2, slip, purl 2, slip, and then knit. But halfway through the foot on this one, I didn't want to do it anymore. This is when I realized that I don't enjoy making worsted weight socks. So I definitely have second sock syndrome. I will finish them so I can get them out of my yarn room. But do I recommend the pattern? Absolutely. Is it a fun knit? Absolutely. Very intuitive. It's great TV knitting. So it just has a regular heel flap and gusset, nothing special. I just used contrast yarn because I wanted a little bit of variety because I got tired of looking at the brown, and I'm supposed to be using from stash anyway. That was that. They're good gift knit. They're good bed socks as well. But I learned that I don't enjoy making worsted weight socks. That's what I've learned from this. So once it's done, I'll have to find some other pattern. But again, there's another example of, yes, I actually do knit the patterns that are in my roundups, and I have opinions on them. I have one other thing that I worked on. And let me see, I still have yarn left over. There we go. I have one acquisition. Okay, so this is the yarn that I used first and foremost. Yes, it's Christmas yarn. This is Mary Maxim, and it is in the colorway Mistletoe. I'm pretty sure it's Mistletoe. This project is actually in my Ravelry projects, and it is for the Shopkeepers Friend Hot Water Bottle Cozy. How cute is this? I can't stand it. This is the absolute, look how tiny it is. Like, I don't have the world's biggest hands. Look how tiny this is. So in the pattern, she uses, I think it's the 512 milliliter. And in the US, it's 320 milliliters is the hot water bottle that we have here. And this is how tiny it is. I found it on Amazon. I think it was like $9.99 for one. And then somewhere I saw a listing that was for 4 of them for like $23.99, which isn't bad because I'm gonna knit these for the ladies at work. This was one of the free patterns in my fingering weight bundle, which I'll either pop up here and I'll definitely include down in the description as well. I did have to make some modifications to the pattern, just a couple. You're supposed to, if I didn't say, the Shopkeeper's Friend is a pattern by No Frills, and it's a free pattern. And in the pattern, you do Judy's Magic Cast-On to get started. And then you knit from there. And you do some increases until you cast on, I think it's 60 stitches, and then you do some increases until you get to the number of stitches that it says, and then you just knit. And you knit for 6 inches, and then you do the decreases, and then you do the neck, and then you bind off with an I-cord. So since the hot water bottle is slightly smaller, the American one is slightly smaller, I didn't knit to 6 inches, but I did include all of my notes for the Ravelry project if you want to make one yourself. And to get this into this, you take the stopper out so you don't have any air, fold it in half, and then you just pop it in. And when it gets in there, it unfolds. The cozy is slightly bigger than the hot water bottle, which makes sense because when it's filled up with water, it's gonna expand because of the steam, so it works. And I actually knit my neck slightly taller, so it actually covers the stopper, or the majority of the stopper. But I just wanted to test out the pattern to see if it was gonna work, if I was gonna enjoy it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I know I knitted out of Christmas yarn, but it's, you know, it was gonna be a Christmas present for one of the ladies at work, like I said, but this one was so cute, I'm actually gonna keep it for myself. And I think that's everything that I knit on from the end of September and all the way through October. Well, it's not, but I have to do a whole other video about what I have been working on. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Anyway, I have one acquisition and I have a question. I need some help. Okay, so first the acquisition. I was on Ravelry a couple of weeks ago and I saw this blank stocking pattern by DoodleKnits. It's a DoodleKnits, so what is that, Pacific Knitwear by Jamie Lomax. And it was just a generic Christmas stocking pattern, and I thought that maybe I might start to work on Christmas stockings for my daughters, and then when they move out, they'll actually have their own Christmas stockings. So I went down the whole DoodleKnits rabbit hole, and I'm from England, as you guys know, and I love plants, and they have DoodleKnits cards that are cats, because I'm a cat junkie. They have plants, and they have England, they have Paris, they have Portland, Oregon. Like, they have all of these really cool places. So it was a whole rabbit hole for me. So I figured I would start with the directory. So I went on to Amazon. The book is regularly $24.99, and I found it on Amazon for 20 bucks. So I got it. And in it, she gives you the original patterns, the generic patterns are in the book for the hat, the ear warmer, the infinity scarf, the regular cowl, socks in both DK and worsted weight. The Christmas stocking's not in here. And then included in it are, I can show you the index, are all these patterns for all these different motifs. And you can mix and match the motifs. So you've got summer, you've got fall, you've got bumblebees, you've got some standard ones. So I think that I actually want to try, I'm super excited about these. I want to try some DoodleKnits. I found one yarn dyer on Etsy that dyes the DK weight yarn specifically for the doodles. She's in Canada. She doesn't ship to the United States. So I am on the lookout for somebody that dyes for the DoodleKnits, not just the individual, like somebody has a kit for the birthday cake doodles, and somebody else has got yarn that they've dyed for, I think it's the mermaid one, and there's a couple of other ones. Anyway, if you guys happen to see on Etsy or elsewhere somebody that dyes the full color rainbow for the DoodleKnits that ships to the United States or is in the United States, please message me, let me know. I will include the link to the Etsy shop that's in Canada so you guys can kind of see. So that was my acquisition. I am going on November 9th, so next Saturday, I'm going to the grand opening of a new yarn/coffee shop in St. Petersburg. I will include a pop-up right here of their Instagram and their information down below. So if you are in the Tampa Bay area and you want to go to their grand opening and check it out, there are some new yarns that I want to try. One of them is the Ito Sensei. I want to try to make a ranunculus out of that, so I'm super excited. I also want to make a Sophie out of some Cardiff cashmere, so they happen to have both of those yarns there. And there's one other yarn that I was looking for that they're supposed to have there. Anyway, so I will, in my next video, include some footage of going there and of their yarn and all that stuff. But yeah, random waffle. Question, I need some help. Okay, so when I went to England in 2022, I went to Loop. One of the things that I bought in Loop was this yarn, the Backyard Chicken collection. How pretty is this? It's a sock set. And it came with 2 singles and then a full skein. So in theory, I'm kind of thinking I can get 2 skeins of yarn out of this. then these were like the different color options that they had, right? So there used to be a pattern for the chicken socks. There were socks that literally had chickens knit into them on Ravelry. And when I went looking for it a couple of weeks ago, it said that the pattern was no longer available. I think I saw it on Etsy, but then when I got to looking at it, I was like, as much as I want to use this yarn for it, I don't think that I can. So do you guys have any suggestions for a good pattern for this? Like, this is a really special yarn for me, so I am really looking for a super special pattern for this. The yarn is 75% merino, 25% nylon. There's 460 yards, 100 gram skein, plus 2 20-gram minis. So that's what I'm working with. If you guys can think of any special yarn worthy patterns, please share them in the comments and let me know. I think that's it. Yep, my bucket is empty. The only other thing I have to share is I am participating in Joji Locatelli's Mystery Knit Along. She dropped the first clue on Halloween at like 10:53 p.m. and I have to pick a yarn still. I'm kind of on the fence about what I want to use. She said that you could do it in DK weight yarn, and I was thinking about using this Miss Babs Babette that I have. It's 560 yards and it's a DK weight yarn, and she does say that you can do it in a DK or you can do it in a fingering. She recommends in the pattern that you need to have, she says you can do it in 400 yards of worsted, but 420 is, she said, you won't have yarn chicken. So I'm thinking about using this skein of Miss Babs Babette. The colorway is called Rishi, R-E-I-S-H-I. There we go. This was one that I've just had in my stash for absolute ages. I don't even know where I got it, to be perfectly honest with you. I know that it was $48, and I bet you can't get Miss Babs Yowza for $48 now. 100% superwash merino, 560 yards, 512 meters. Knitting gauge, US 5 to a US size 7 needle, 5.25 to 6 stitches. So I'm thinking about using this to do the knit along if I decide to do a DK. Otherwise, I have to do some rummaging because I have some other ones, like maybe something like this. This one is Plymouth Yarns, 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon. It's their Happy Feet. It's made in Peru. Yeah, but this one won't work because it's only 384 yards. But it is pretty. Anyway, I spend a lot of time sidetracked just checking out yarn. I also have this one. It is the plush fingering. It's called Fire and Ice, and it's a gradient. And there's 560 yards, and it's a fingering weight. And I actually have 2 of these. So I could actually use this for Joji's knit along. What do you think? DK? Fingering. Anybody that's done clue number 1, what do you think? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Should I do the fingering or should I do the DK? I will look in the comments on Monday and see if you guys have given me a suggestion. I have waffled for 57 minutes and I think that's long enough. Jay's got to go and edit this video. I have really enjoyed catching you up on everything that I have been knitting on. It was fun. I can't tell you how much I enjoy being able to share my knitting because I really don't have anybody else around. But I am hoping that when I go to St. Petersburg to the new yarn shop, it's supposed to be like a coffee shop as well as yarn, but they do like all kinds of other crafts. So I don't know, who knows, maybe it'll be a new community spot for me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I am incredibly thankful for everybody that has subscribed to the channel over the last couple of months. It just kind of exploded, and I am so appreciative of everybody. Like, it's very heartfelt for me. Anyway, with that said, I will see you guys in another 2 weeks for another video, unless I do my mystery video that I am contemplating. And with that said, I hope everyone has an amazing week this week, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.